It's here. Rivalry week. The game. Michigan versus Ohio State. Does Michigan have a chance? Let's find out. Right here on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. Thank you to all of you who make us your first listen, and thank you to all of our everydayers out there. We do appreciate it. We'll talk a little bit about Michigan, Maryland at the top, and then we are going to go right into Ohio State. Some different things that I looked up last night to try to kind of get a pulse on what these teams are doing. And I don't know if we can do it all in one segment. We're going to try. And then we're going to get into what I think has to happen for Michigan to win the game and kind of where I'm leaning at the moment. So first, Michigan, Maryland. We saw exactly what I've been saying we want to see. Now that makes 3 straight games. Now, it's not that Michigan made it easy in a lot of ways, right? Like you had different things over the course of the 3 straight games, going from Purdue, who again is not ranked very highly offensively, but it is a good offense. Like we've seen it. There have been teams who have stalled it out, but generally it has been a potent offense and a good offense. The Michigan's defense held strong against Northwestern. We wanted to see the defense come up. Offense come up and do be able to move the ball, especially against a good passing offense. And Michigan did that. Now, they didn't finish a lot, had the 5 turnovers, 4 on offense, 1 on special teams, but they still did what I hoped that we could see in that game. And then finally, the Maryland game, where you wanted to see it all kind of come together, and that's exactly what happened. Michigan took care of the football. Didn't emerge unscathed with Max Bredeson going out with what appears to be a foot injury. There's some conflicting things going on there. Sharon Moore says that the x-rays don't look good, but if there's anyone you could count on potentially playing, Max would play. He is meeting with us in the media tomorrow night. That seems kind of like an omen of, I would say this. It is unlikely that Max Bredeson is meeting with the media just to say, like, man, I wish the guys good luck, but I'm not going to be out there. I would more so bet that he would be out there. He seemed like in good spirits. And again, I wasn't on the ground for that game. I was watching at home, just like many of you, most of you probably. But he seemed in good spirits. And if it was let's say hypothetically that he broke his foot. Alls I know, and I'm tough. Maybe I'm not Max Bredeson tough. Alls I know is that I was not like in the hour after I broke my hand, which now I'm not wearing the braces. Now, granted, no doctor told me to take it off. I just did because I'm tired of wearing it. But I was very much just sitting there like this and just in pain, right? Like there was very little laughing going on. Same thing as when I broke my foot back in 2011. Very little laughing going on and cajoling and whatever you want to put it on. And so that makes me wonder, is it one of those things the x-rays show something that's worse than what he feels? I don't know. Again, I don't know that that's what the injury is. I'm just saying that would be, that it could be interesting. And I just don't think he would meet with the media if he was not going to be playing in some capacity. Devin Gardner played the entire 2013 version of the game on a broken foot, basically, or at least the second half. Hurts wasn't good as far as like the being able to having to endure that, but you just wonder if it's something that, hey, it's not going to necessarily get worse. If you play on it, then maybe he plays on it. So there's that. So they didn't emerge unscathed, but at the same time, you saw the passing game continue. Like everyone knows at this point, they're going to pass to Andrew Marsh. They still managed to do so. That opened up options for and opportunities for Donaven McCulley, which is great. Zach Marshall continues to get involved. You saw a couple nice little plays to Marlon Klein. The fact that Michigan's able to run out the 6th string running backs and have success. Yes, it's Maryland. Maryland's not the greatest run defense, but still, like you would think like, okay, that's a D1 team going up against guys that one out of the 4 guys that played, 4. 2 of them were like previously, before this new era of college football, considered scholarship players. One was coming off of a massive injury that he's had for a while in Micah Capana. But ultimately, I mean, you saw a true freshman, Micah Capana, Thomas O'Meara, and the person who deserves the most kudos here, Bryson Kuzdal, run wild all over you. So they were able to get everything kind of in order. Now, the defense had some lapses here and there, better in that game, right? Like, 45-20 could have been 52-20, and certainly it could have been more like 55-20 if that missed field goal isn't missed. But the reason why I'm doing that little mental exercise is 59-19 is what the score was in the 2021 iteration of Michigan-Maryland. And then Michigan went on to win 42-27 against Ohio State. Now, that doesn't really matter. We're just doing a mental exercise. But you saw enough of, it's like, okay, if you play, like, let me put it this way. If Michigan plays like it did against Maryland, for the most part, yeah, they gave up some stuff in the past game. Saw some Ohio State got people being like, they gave up almost 300 yards. How meaningful did that end up being, right? It's kind of the same thing. They gave up 300 yards against Ohio State in 2021. Did it end up mattering? No, it's the score part is what matters. Just like Michigan could have 500 yards of total offense against the Wisconsins, actually against Wisconsin, I think it was like 400, but against those types of teams, against Northwestern, and come away with 24 points, right? Like, it's the context of it all matters. But the fact that Michigan finished drives, the fact that Michigan imposed its will, the fact that the defense mostly stood strong, and as much as our good friend Jake Butt, along with Jeff Levering, were, talking about Malik Washington missing. I mean, Malik Washington felt like he was under pressure. He hasn't been under all year long. And that is key because the Maryland offensive line has been arguably its biggest strength of its team. Right. They'd given up 3 sacks prior to that game. Malik Washington generally is all the time in the world. It's all a matter of he's seeing things correctly. So with that in mind, the Michigan offense continues to be on an ascent. Now you've got 3 straight games. Am I right? 3? No, 2 straight games. Just 2 games in a row where the offense feels like it can move the ball. It feels like it can do what it wants to do. It's like 5 straight games with them running the football fine, really since that USC game. And, they still ran the football, but Michigan was behind all game. Justice Haynes goes out in the second quarter. All that kind of stuff kind of played into that. So there's a lot that's kind of like working, like kind of in disparate, like if you have a cloud, and I don't mean a literal cloud, but kind of that idea of like, you can, you think of just like the information ecosphere, and you're pulling, okay, you want this and you want this and you want this and you want this. Michigan has established all those things that you want them to essentially have going into the Ohio State game. This was the most complete game that Michigan's had all year. It's the most dominant game that they've had outside of the Central Michigan game. Kind of echoes of last year against Northwestern. And they're just, they've been saying potentially peaking at the right time. That might be what it is. But it's one of those things where it's like you needed to be able to get all these certain things. Now, would you rather it be just like a constant domination show? Maybe. Hasn't worked out for Ohio State in terms of that every single year here. They've had moments, not always, like, but 2022, 2024, those were 2 years where they just were like running roughshod all over almost everyone. 24, obviously they lost to Oregon at Oregon, but otherwise it was like, oh, they fixed the glitch. Everything's great. You would rather, in some ways, as Connor has said to me, I think on the show, but certainly privately, there's oftentimes that you want to have those things to fix that you have to fix. So certain things have not been issues for Michigan lately that had been issues before. The drops, you still want to see the pass protection be better, especially going up against the defense that they're going up against now. You wonder how much Michigan has some different things to negate that. We haven't seen as much of the boot game lately, a little bit, here and there, but not nearly to the prevalence we saw before. You've seen a lot more outside zone really working again in the run game, but you also, inside zone and power and duo and all these things. So it just makes you think like, okay, They've got everything in that cloud they need to pull from. Let's just see them pull from it. So I wasn't necessarily super confident going into this week. Yet, just as I kind of did some research, I walked away feeling like I think I'm changing my perspective on this a little bit. Let's get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, the holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month with up to 70% off of everything from sofas to spatulas. I've recently upgraded my bedding, and I got it from Wayfair. I got the coma inducer. It's incredible. The thicker than thick. It's like the most cozy thing ever. Completely transformed my sleep. I'm sleeping better. It's I a lot of times don't want to leave my bed. That's maybe a personal problem. But I can't believe how fast everything ships. It's just in time for the holidays, and you browse through your site, it's easy to find pieces that actually fit my style. Nothing generic, just quality designs that feel personal. And if you've ever hosted family for the holidays, you know how much difference a few new touches can make. Wayfair makes that easy. Don't miss out on the early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. All right, so I don't know how I'm going to extrapolate this from my writing here. Last night on Wolverines Wire, I posted an article about just kind of different metrics. Now, we've talked on this show how I do prefer, and I didn't really look this up because I was just kind of, it started as a thought, like kind of a, a thought experiment. There you go. And then it just kind of morphed, but I didn't look up yards per carry, yards per, all that kind of stuff. I just kind of looked up total offense, total defense, passing offense, passing defense, like just that type of stuff here. But Michigan on average, this kind of changed a little bit of what I was thinking. Now, I had looked earlier in the week before this week, and it certainly hasn't changed dramatically, right? Rutgers and Maryland are essentially the same. Michigan has faced a better teams with more of a winning record. ESPN FPI does have Michigan with the 37th strength of schedule, not strength of record, meaning what you've done previously. But I mean, still. But overall, Michigan's had is 37th in strength of schedule. Ohio State's 52. I think that Texas game is doing some heavy lifting. Obviously, Texas has gotten a lot better over the course of the year, but still not like blow your socks off great. I don't think if Michigan's facing Texas in the postseason, I don't think anyone's particularly scared of that, I would say, compared to maybe like last year. And obviously, Michigan lost to Texas last year. So there's that. Not that Michigan's faced a lot of like crazy, amazing teams, but the two teams Michigan's lost to are both, ranked. There's one team that Ohio State's faced that it's beaten at this point in the season, and that's Texas, and that's it, right? They beat Illinois, who was ranked at one point in time, is no longer. Not exactly, Illinois just lost to Wisconsin, so fun. Nonetheless, the teams that Michigan's faced are just at least a little bit better, right? You just go through the schedule. Now, some of them have kind of maybe fallen off a little bit, like Nebraska, who didn't do well at all. But you'd think it would be a lot different if Dylan Raiola wasn't out for the season. They were playing obviously a bit better than they are now. Washington has been kind of weird up and down. Obviously also lost to Wisconsin inexplicably. Michigan's kind of played down to its competition as well. It's played better against Nebraska and Oklahoma than it did Oklahoma, yes, I'll say that. Then it maybe has against like Purdue and Michigan State. But when it comes to rushing, this is what I found. This is what makes things interesting to me. Let me just go through this. Michigan, if the rush defenses that it has faced, I should have done an average of what it's faced, but I didn't. New Mexico is 21st. Michigan had the most rushing yards that the Lobos have surrendered. They faced Oklahoma, who's the third best rush defense. And they had 146 yards, which is the most that the Sooners have surrendered. They faced the 62nd Central Michigan Chippewas, 381 yards. It's the most the Chippewas have surrendered. Against Nebraska, the 94th rush defense, Michigan had 286 yards, the most the Huskers have surrendered. So in the first 4 games that they established, Michigan established itself as the team that can run the football so well that for the rest of the year, none of these teams at this point through week 13 has given up as many yards as they've given up on the ground to Michigan. So that's one thing. To Wisconsin, it was the 3rd most. They're 16th in the country. USC is the 71st, but that one's the Michigan's lowest output. Obviously, the 2 mitigating factors, Michigan being behind relatively early, seeming to want to pass first before Justice Haynes even got injured, and then he gets injured. Washington is 18th in rushing yards allowed, and Michigan had 187, the most that the Huskies have surrendered. Michigan State is 80th. Michigan had the 2nd most. Purdue, 92nd. Michigan was the 2nd most. Northwestern is 55th, the 2nd most. Maryland, the 109th and the 3rd most that the Terps have surrendered, despite Michigan playing its 3rd through 6th stringers the entire game. I bring this up in one area because the team that has rushed for the most yards in the game has won the game for each of the last 23 contests since 2000. So no game in 2020. Maybe my math's off. So 23-24. Ohio State, when you look at what they've done, now they've gotten better over the course of the year. And, the last 4 games, they've had over 150 yards each, 164, 170, 222, 254. You look at the rush defenses they've faced, 64th, 92nd, 126th, 129th. So they've done damage. When I say damage, 4th most, 6th fewest, 4th most, 3rd most against the worst rushing defenses they've faced all year. Against the best rushing defense they faced all year, Texas, which is about in the same vein as Michigan, they rushed for only 77 yards in that game. It's the 5th fewest. The Longhorns have been very good, but it's the 5th fewest that they've put out there. So there's that. The second best game that they've had came against Ohio, and it's that's the only time that they've given up, a team has given up the most rushing yards to Ohio State. They're a middling team in the MAC. Everyone else, it's kind of like, eh. So I trust what Michigan is able to do in the run game over what I think Ohio State can do. Now, again, Ohio State, number one defense in the country. As far as rushing defense, I'm sure I have this written down here. Let's see. Michigan's number 10 nationally at rush defense, and Ohio State is number 2. So it is going to be the biggest test for Michigan as well. But when it comes to it, like, Ohio State has faced one team with a rush defense that's anywhere even in Michigan's caliber, and they didn't pass that test well at all. Now, their true freshman, Bo Jackson, is just now kind of getting started here. But I trust that Michigan's able to do better. Now, on top of that, you look at the pass game and all of that. Michigan doesn't have like a high-flying pass game, number 101 in the country, number 76 at home when it comes to that. But Michigan's offense is among the better offenses overall that Ohio State will have faced. So there's that. You have the common opponents that the 3 have faced. Now, Ohio State faced all 3 on the road. Michigan faced all 3 at home. Ohio State did better slightly in every metric except for against Washington, where Michigan managed to do just a little bit better offensively than Ohio State. But otherwise, I mean, like, we're not talking like 100 yards in most cases. Against Purdue, Ohio State gave up 90 fewer yards. But otherwise, I mean, mostly everything else has just kind of been like in the 15 yards, 60 yards difference, right? Like, it's kind of relatively negligible to some degree. So common opponents, again, transitive property, not a real thing, but still, like, that just kind of tells you a little something. When it comes to opposing offenses that Michigan's faced, it's faced a few more Not a ton, just like, USC, and that was a losing opponent. But the teams that Michigan's faced are ranked still not in the highest, right? Like, these aren't like world beaters, but Michigan's average is 84.4 in terms of the rank of offenses. Ohio State is facing ones more around 90. The highest that Ohio State has faced to this point has been Washington. They held them to 6 points in Seattle, but and Michigan held them to 7. So, but otherwise, like, they haven't really faced any offenses worth anywhere really close outside of Washington and Michigan's stratosphere. Defensively, Michigan's faced some tougher defenses as well. Michigan's faced number 11 Oklahoma, number 20 Nebraska, also 18 Washington. Both teams have done so there. Wisconsin's 37, which is another common opponent. I mean, the two common opponents are the best defenses that Ohio State's faced. And so Michigan's going to be the best defense that they have seen all year as well. So interesting fact. So what does it all mean? What do I feel about it? Let's get to that here in just a moment. But before we do, college football is winding down. Couldn't be more sad about it, but still, the tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. This is the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Listen, you're not going to get in cheap to the game in Ann Arbor. But if you pull up Gametime, you're going to find that's going to be your best bet to get into the game. And you can get into the game with Gametime. The app makes it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. I love zone deals too. You pick the section, Gametime picks the seats, and you save big. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, this promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. All right, so this is probably where we start to get into some Ohio State accounts clipping the show, as they like to do throughout the year. But certainly when we get to this point of the year, that's one of the things they absolutely love to do. So I'll make it clear here, because like last year, I said I didn't think that Michigan really had much of a chance, but if they had a chance, here's what it looks like. And that got clipped to oblivion, and people like, oh, this idiot thinks they have a chance. The same thing had happened in 2021, maybe a little bit less so with the podcast, but I did a guest. This is not me. I did a guest spot over in writing at 11 Warriors. That was a Q&A. And I basically said, like, yeah, Michigan's got a chance. I don't know how great that chance is, but they got a chance. And, they don't like hearing that down in Columbus. You can kind of see that with Ryan Day essentially saying to local TV something about like, yeah, next week when we are preparing for another game and all that kind of stuff, right? Like you see it with my friend Dave Biddle. This isn't a call out. Dave, I love you. I want to preface that. But this rent is due, bill is due type of mentality. Oh, it's going to be really bad for the Wolverines. Like we've been hearing this every year. Been seeing it prevalent online. And to me, it's kind of like maybe not. Last 4 years haven't been that way. So anyway, hubris coming from the state of Ohio in general. Now, do I think Michigan's going to win the game? I don't know. They play a game for a reason. But with everything I've kind of laid out earlier, mixture of Michigan getting to that point where it's doing things well enough. Now, you'd feel more confident if they were blowing teams out. They weren't really doing that in 2021. They were in 2022. By the end of the year, not as much, right? They went into the game before the game, losing Blake Corum and beating a ranked Illinois team by the skin of its teeth. 2023, they didn't feel like they were firing on all cylinders there at the end either, but you at least seen enough to know that, like, okay, they've got what it takes. You just got to get to the game. Get to the game as healthy as possible. This year's a little bit different, right? It's a young team trying to figure out how to win. Your starting running back, probably not playing, Justice Haynes. You got Jordan Marshall, who's been banged up. Jerome Moore says, hey, he could have gone against Maryland, and we opted to not have that be the case. Okay, there you go. Defense is done better against as good passing teams. They need to play better than they did in the past defense, at least in the back end, than they did against Maryland, assuredly. But you like to see what you saw as far as the pressure and making Malik Washington uncomfortable. So a couple of different things here. Number one, Julian Sayin, and we say this all the time, and it could end up being the Jaden Mayava from USC experience. Certainly if there's a quarterback on the schedule that could do this to Michigan, it would be Julian Sayin. So I will give him all the credit in the world. I think that he could also be like a deer in headlights. He hasn't seen a defense like this. Maybe a bit when it comes to practice, and that can certainly help him, that is. But I think that, it's a battery of quarterback to receiver. We don't know if Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith will be playing. I think you can count on it. Not saying that it will happen, but, will they be full strength? Who knows? But let's, for the sake of everything, count on it. But it is still a battery, quarterback to wide receiver. Michigan just has to make Julian Sayin uncomfortable in a way that he hasn't been thus far this year. There are some issues up front with Ohio State intermittently on the offensive line. It's not consistent. It is intermittent. And this is probably the best defensive line that they'll have faced all year. So, okay, Michigan, you got to get after it as far as that's concerned. As far as Ohio State running the ball against Michigan, we just really haven't seen teams have much success outside of USC in that game running the ball against Michigan. And yeah, USC ran a lot. So if Michigan can do what we've seen it do, essentially, 10 out of 11 times this year, it will be on a good spot defensively. So then it comes to the other side, the offense. And I think that Michigan's offense has enough ability Ohio State is in its own stratosphere as it looks, right? But again, they haven't faced an offense that's anywhere remotely outside of Washington, which they did an incredible job with Washington. Washington was able to move the football for the most part, but just couldn't finish, right? That score could have been more of a manageable scenario. So going again back to the running thing that I talked about earlier, the team that runs the football better in the game tends to win the game. There is one team that I have more faith in to be able to run the football and stop the run, and that's Michigan. So as much as, and let me before I finish that thought, I'll finish it after. As much as there is a little bit of a gut feeling here of like, oh, this is going to be Ohio State's year, right? Like this, they just look so dominant, right? They're more physical. The defense is certainly a heck of a lot better. It seems figured out. As much as all of that, it's just, again, what team do I trust to be able to run the football and stop the run? It's more Michigan than anyone else. Not anyone else, but between these two teams, it's Michigan. I have more faith that Michigan will be able to run against an Ohio State team that doesn't like to give up anything anywhere generally, although it's weaker against the run than it is against the pass. I feel better about Michigan's chances. So there's that. Now, on top of it, there's a little bit of a mixed bag because I do feel like this Ohio State defense, despite having not played anybody, Paul. I think this is probably the best Ohio State defense that we have seen in a long, long time. It really is. Now, we've seen weaker Michigan offenses go up against extremely good Michigan defense or Ohio State defenses and have success. We've seen that before. The 2019 Michigan offense was no slouch, but that was the number one pass defense, and Michigan passed for over 300 yards against them. It seems like, 2013, 2014, those years, Ohio State had really great defenses and Michigan managed to move the ball. So I think that I'm not as concerned about that just from we've seen that historically work out. But ultimately, I think Julian Sayin's better than Will Howard. But ultimately, I think Ohio State's offense was better last year, more explosive last year. So even if they have Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, banged up versions or not, whatever. I think that what they had last year with those two plus Emeka Egbuka, I think that was scarier. Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, and Michigan managed defensively. So Ohio State's going to get theirs. That they are, right? Like Michigan's going to give up plays. It's about minimizing the damage caused in there. And if they give up a touchdown drive right away, Michigan's got to bounce back, score quickly. No, maybe not quickly, but fight back, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, if Michigan can stay in a situation where it can continue to run the football, I think I'm starting to feel like Michigan will win this game. Because as much as Ohio State is starting to try to become more like Michigan, more physical, like you're seeing that in the last couple of games, we're like, hey, we're going to run the football and we're going to do all these things. We're not going to pass the ball as much and what have you. I mean, that's still Michigan's identity. Has Ohio State gotten better at Michigan's identity? I don't know. I don't think so. Obviously, that's what we'll see in the game. So there's that. All right. I have a plan for Tuesday, although I want to have a guest tomorrow, but I haven't talked to said guest about coming on. So plan is no mailbag this week, FYI. But we will figure all these other things out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will talk to you again soon. Peace.